Well, the political battle over abortion restrictions resumes in Texas today, where the Senate held a hearing on a bill that has drawn thousands of people to the state capitol in recent weeks. The Republican-backed measure would ban most abortions after 20 weeks, and it would also toughen regulations for abortion clinics. The Texas House, meanwhile, plans to vote on the legislation tomorrow. Michelle Malkin is a columnist and a Fox News contributor. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Allison.
Obviously an incredibly heated topic, and you can see that played out in front of the State House today, where, abortion opponents and supporters are sort of having a showdown in front of the State House. What are we expecting?
Well, I think that what you can expect is more of the same rude, uncivil, and unhinged behavior on the part of many of these pro-abortion supporters. And a lot of them, as many Texas natives have been pointing out, are coming from outside of the state, supported by the national pro-abortion organizations, NARAL and Planned Parenthood, along with a lot of these Hollywood celebrities who've taken to Twitter. And my Twitter aggregation and curation site, Twitchy.com, has been monitoring them for the last week or so, where they've ratcheted up a lot of vulgar rhetoric against peaceful pro-life supporters and pro-life legislators, and of course a staunchly pro-life governor, Rick Perry, who are really putting a test to these forces on the other side. Do they really believe in ensuring that abortions are conducted in a safe manner? And I think that's what we have to remember, Allison, as these debates become more heated, not just in Texas, but around the country, where other state legislatures are trying to, in the wake of that awful Kermit Gosnell House of Horrors situation, make sure that women and unborn children are protected.
And, in terms of the Gosnell issue, Michelle, couldn't you argue that it's never a good idea to base policy on one homicidal maniac?
Yeah, well, I think the problem is that over the course of the last several decades, it's the pro-life forces who have tried to expose and report time and time again that Kermit Gosnell is no exception. That in fact, that there are many barbaric practices that have gone whitewashed, not just in Pennsylvania, but in many states, and of course, including Texas itself. Very recently, there were pro-life reporters and investigators and people who worked at these abortion clinics who've been blowing the whistle on practices that have endangered women and obviously unborn children. So it's not just a case of picking the Gosnell case and then demonizing every abortion clinic, but as I said, will they abide by standards that will ensure safety? And that's what it's at issue in Texas and, of course, in North Carolina that debated this in recent days, where they're saying that these abortion clinics should be treated as surgical ambulatory facilities. And therefore, the people in them, the doctors that are supervising these abortions, should have admitting privileges at hospitals within 30 miles, for example. Or in the cases of women who are endangered and where emergency personnel have to be able to get in and out of there quickly with large gurneys, the hallways should be able to accommodate their equipment and the things that they need to make sure that women are safe.
And of course, those are the very tenets, you've just outlined them, that are in this Texas bill. The pro-choice supporters say that those four tenets that you've just talked about, outlawing abortion after 20 weeks, making sure that it's the abortion clinic is within 30 miles of a hospital, that will effectively outlaw abortion in Texas, as well as the restrictions, as you mentioned, in Wisconsin, Ohio, and North Carolina. Is that, do you think, what's happening here? That soon there will be some states where it is virtually impossible to get an abortion?
Again, the burden is on those pro-abortion radicals and extremists who would rather that we do nothing to prevent another Gosnell or another Dr. Gosnell, as there are in so many other states. And I have to repeat, what these pro-lifers have been doing over the last several decades to make sure that people do not buy in to the rosy rhetoric and the whitewashing that's gone on to protect the abortion racket. pick a side. I mean, look at the difference between how the pro-life people have conducted themselves in arguing on the merits. You have many medical providers who have supported these laws to ensure that there is health and safety for women and unborn children.
All right, we will be watching today what happens in Texas. Michelle, thanks so much for your perspective.
You bet, Allison.